second day of our participatory video training lessons. First of all, let me thank all of you for participating, but especially let me thank our partners from Digital Green, Ayush in particular, our pillar for this training, I would say. Just to be clear, this training is a pilot, as it was explained yesterday. A pilot that we would like to improve in 2023 in order to make it really embedded in the activities of our ComDev team. This is also the occasion for me to thank all the other persons that are working behind the scenes in order to provide us this possibility. You have seen in the mini site that this is really a cross-cutting approach that we are trying to have with people in Asia, Digital Green, Ayush in particular, but also a lot of persons coming and supporting this activity from the University of Los Baños, based in the Philippines. I kindly ask you to have a look to the mini website where you can see that this training involved a lot of persons from the technical side, from the management side, the Department of Development, Broadcasting and Communication of the University of Los Baños. Therefore, for me, it is really the occasion to thank all of them. Clearly, I also would like to have a word for my colleagues, the tireless Sophie, who presented the training yesterday, but also another key person working behind the scene, Madame Uloma, that you will meet tomorrow because she will moderate the lessons. So today we are going to go more in depth. Yesterday, Ayushi explained us the framework where we are going to produce video. Mr. Kunso, our team leader from the ComDev team, explained a little bit the ComDev process and how video is a fundamental tool for development. And with Ayushi, we have seen in particular the three key steps that we have to approach when we are producing something with video: the pre-production phase, the production, and the post-production. Each phase has different things to consider: script, stories, engagement of the communities. And today, I'm sure that we are going to go more in depth, especially in regard to the production. Shooting on the field, which sounds extremely interesting, but also how to frame language, voice, and the image relationship within a video. I also would like to remind you that there are several communication tools. The D group is there. Sometimes we have experienced some problems, so also have a look to your spam folder if somehow one of the messages could have been dropped over there. There is the mini site. Again, I ask my colleagues to support me, including the links of all these instruments, tools in the chat. And in the mini site, we also have all the PDF presentations that are accompanying our lessons. Once again, also thanks to your participation and your feedback that we have received through the group. I went through many messages that were really extremely interesting, especially in regards to the use that you are going to do with this video training and how you are going to use video in your current activities. Of course, after this pilot initiative, we are going to try to cluster all the answers in order to have a coherent overview. As a last word before giving the floor to Ayushi, the purpose of this meeting is really to try to improve our knowledge, improve our skills, but in especially the attitude and the practices that we do on a daily basis when we work with communication for development. Therefore, Ayush, I leave you the floor, and I thank you once again for your availability and for your kind, I would say, relationship with all of us. So thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Francesco. Hello. I don't know where you all are in different places. Good morning, good afternoon. It's almost early evening here. So, hey, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I hope that you had some chance to reflect on everything that we discussed and learned yesterday. I apologize for sounding like a toad right now, but at least I hope you're able to hear me well.
I think it's extremely wonderful because I mean we can connect now, voice and video. So go ahead, Ayush. We are with you.
Thank you, Francesco. And at any point, if you feel like you cannot hear me or I'm not being clear, then please feel free to stop me and be very generous with the chat again, as you were yesterday. And feel free to unmute yourself and contribute to this so that we can all learn together. And I would love it if at least some of us can keep our videos on, just like Annie has done, or Constance always keeps her video on. I really appreciate that. So as and when, don't be shy, try to keep your videos on. So because, all of this has a lot to do with reading our body languages, seeing the responses that we're getting from each other. So it's always helpful to have the videos on. Thank you, Aptamu. Really appreciate it. Awesome. So let me, so good to see you. Let me set the floor about what we are going to do today. As Francesco said, it's not just a skill that we are learning, but if we think about the sheer impact of what's going to come out of here, we are changing the way communication will go down to the grassroots level, and we are changing the strategy from top down to bottom up, right? So at the core of everything that we discuss and learn and practice is going to be empathy. When we empathize with our target audience, with our farmers, that's where we'll know what they would like to see, what they would like to hear, what will be the best way to communicate with all. So keeping that perspective in mind, there are two different aspects that we will discuss today. First, we will see what the interpretation of the content is. When I say that, I mean, how does our mind perceive what we see on the screen? Yeah. The second part is everything that we discuss, all the skills, the science, the techniques, how do we take it down to the field level? How does shooting at field level look like? Yeah. So to begin with the first part, my first question to everyone is, what do you think is the difference between seeing and hearing something in person versus seeing and hearing something on a video? What do you think is the difference? If I'm standing in the field and looking at things, hearing things myself, versus when I see something in the video or when the camera sees it in the video, what do you think is the difference? Yes, Mark, please go ahead.
Good morning to you all. I think what it's the essence of seeing a video brings to life what is being said. And so you're able to, from the facial expressions and all the gestures that are being made during the communication, you are able to at least have a better insight and also have a better appreciation of what the person is saying and how, for instance, the person is feeling. So I think it's much better to see and be able to at least have at least some touch of what the person is saying, just rather than just listening to the person. Thank you.
Right. So if I understand correctly, Mark is saying that the emotional element is there when we meet in person, when we are able to see and empathize in person. That's a great point, Mark. Anyone else would like to say something? What is the difference? What makes it different? When we do it in person, when we experience the visual and the audio in person versus what the camera sees?
Hi.
Hi, Becky, tell us.
Yes. Good morning. So like Mark rightly said, seeing is using your eyes and being able to see what is actually projected. But when it comes to hearing, you can transfer what you've seen with your eyes and the nose and every part of the senses. Then the hearing can be an audio version without seeing any geographical or video or whatever. So the two work together. Sometimes you can be watching a video, but there's no volume or any audio attached. But you should be able to transfer what you are seeing to an audio version that shows that this is what is going on. Thank you very much.
That's a very interesting point there. So in the video, there's always the option of not getting the audio faculty going, the audio information coming to us. That's very interesting, very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Annie, you want to add something? Would you like to unmute yourself? Annie, please unmute yourself first.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I think maybe if you can see someone in the screen, it will be easy for you to identify the position of the person, looking into the body language. It will be easy for you maybe to know before it will be told that the story is going to take place or to look like, looking into the body language when you see someone in the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are hearing someone not seeing in the screen, it won't be easy for you because you won't see even the body language of that person, the way he's acting, if it is possible or is just saying something because you are not seeing that person in the screen. That's the difference. Thank you.
Great, that's fantastic. Visual gives us a certain kind of idea, audio gives us a certain kind of idea. If we look at some of the videos that are on right now, let's look at Annie's video for now. We're able to see Annie, but are we also able to see something around her? What do you see?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we see where she's sitting. We see some different light sources coming to her, right? Right. And do you think that your mind is building a story based on what you see about where Annie is, what she's doing? Does it help you build a story in your own mind? Is that happening? Give me a yes or a no. Or is it just Annie? Are you only thinking of Annie, or are you thinking of the entire story around her? Would anyone like to? Yeah.
Is the question to her or to all of us?
To all of us, to all of us. We are seeing Annie in the screen, right? What do you think?
Unfortunately, I cannot see on my screen right now.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I can't see any video on my screen.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so the way we're seeing Annie right now is we see this beautiful lady sitting in front of her. We see what place she's sitting in. We see that there is some sunlight coming from the background. So it's giving us some very specific information. It's telling us what time of the day it is where she is, right? It's telling us the place she's sitting somewhere indoors, right? And she's probably using a mobile phone because it's in the portrait mode. Right? So all of these different information we are getting based on what we are seeing, right? And when we are in person, if I were there with Annie in person, my interpretation of information would have been affected by my brain. There would have been lots of things going on around Annie. Maybe there was somebody walking outside, somebody knocking on the door. There was the noise of the traffic around her, all those things. But my mind was working as a filter to make interpretations. All the visual information that was going into my eyes and the audio information that was going into my ears, my mind was being able to process it, right? And so I was being able to decide what part is important, what part connects with my story, and therefore I was being able to process that information. The difference with a video is that the camera does not have that mind, right? The camera will capture anything and everything that it sees and it hears. If there is a cow in the background, the camera will not choose to ignore it because it's not important. Or if there are children playing in the background, the camera is not going to say, oh, wait, this sound is not relevant, so I should not record it, right? Because there is no brain in the camera. So that is the one major difference between when we experience something in person versus when we experience it through a video, through our camera. So now that you know this, do you think that you will have to be very careful about all the video, all that is captured in the video and all that is captured in the audio? Do you think that will require a certain kind of care and caution?
Yes,
Yeah,
Ayush.
you're right.
Yes, Manjit, so would you like to explain on what you're thinking?
Yeah. I'm thinking around this. Mostly, let's take for example the Zoom conference that you're doing. Sometimes, the moment you mute, then the background, what people are saying on the background, everybody hears it. And if you're on the video mode, and if anybody pass just behind you, you can't stop the person. So the person will definitely appear in the video.
Absolutely, absolutely. Manjit, so you also wanted to add something.
Yeah, Ayush, before we start recording any kinds of contents using our camera, we should have to care about all the things, which is like audio is coming with right way, or other any effects which is showed in the as background. So all the things are we should have to care about before we start recording.
Absolutely spot on, right? Everything that is in my shot from the moment I press the record button till the moment I stop recording will be processed as an information. So nothing should be left there by chance. If a farmer is standing in front of their field with a harvester in the field, it gives me an idea that this farmer is at least well off, right? It gives me an idea that they are from a certain financial situation. They have a certain season in the field going on. It is a certain time of the day, right? My camera is capturing all this information. And as an audience, I will be processing all this information. If there is something in this camera, in this shot, which is different from what we are trying to say, for instance, we are trying to say that, oh, look, if you apply this particular fertilizer, your crop will become very healthy. But the crop in the background looks quite sad or wilted or not so well grown. Then the camera captures that information as it is, right? And the audience is not being able to connect with what is being said and what is being shown, right? So every single component in your video, in your shot, has a role to play. It is speaking a language. It's very important to make sure that we consciously decide that language, right? We've discussed about storyboard yesterday and scripting yesterday, and what Menjitsu was saying, the moment you switch on your camera, do you think after you switch on the camera, you should start planning what to do? Or do you think this should happen in advance? What do you think?
Yeah, so what I'm thinking now is before you switch on your camera, you should be ready with all the content that you need at that appropriate time, so that you don't just switch it and later tell somebody to sit well, go to the field, be in action mood, but then you have already arranged for all these things before the camera starts shooting.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now tell me this, when should this planning really happen? When you are out in the field on the day of the shoot or some other time? I would like somebody who has not spoken yet to unmute and try to answer this.
I think I should. Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it has to be during the location identification process. So we have to be ready during the locating the place that to capture the videos.
Okay.
So we have to
Okay. Haptamu says that this planning should happen when we are doing the location identification. Can we go one step back, even before location identification? What do you think? Even one more step back. What do you think? Johannes, would you like to take a shot? When can we do the actual planning? Johannes, can you hear me?
maybe you want to say during the field preparation. Oh,
Okay. Anyone else would like to take a shot? What do you think? Haptamu says that the planning should happen when we are about the going for location hunting. Yes, Annie, what do you think?
I think maybe before the camera switched on, the person must prepare the place very well until that person is look like unprepared like me today. So, so I think the best way to do is to prepare the place before the switching on the camera. I think that's the best way before doing everything.
Thanks for sharing that, Annie. And you were prepared anyway. You look beautiful in that setting. You look beautiful even right now.
Thank you.
Okay.
I was
Now,
functions.
yes.
That's why I came home late. That's why I wasn't in a good place. So I'm sorry for that. For now, I'm learning. I'm in a good place, as you can see.
That's fantastic, Annie. And no apologies needed whatsoever. It's just so nice that we got that example because of you. Right. Fisam wants to say something. Yes, please.
I think it has to be on the pre-production stage,
Mhm.
where site selection is related with the pre-production stage.
Okay, awesome. That's great. So let's go into the actual part of it. It actually starts the moment we start scripting and storyboarding.
Can
Right.
I share something?
Yes, Johannes, please.
Yes, I'm Tashita.
Oh, hey, sorry, your name says Johannes. Yes, tell me.
I am
tell me.
Tashita.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry, I'm Tashita.
Yes, Tashita, go ahead. I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. What I want to add on this topic, especially site selection, is the very critical. It is critical thing during the video production preparation. But the plan is starting from the site selection up to the video production. You have to adjust many things, especially another things happen where during video shoot as well as during post preparation pre-preparation for the video production. So we have to set the crew person, especially the facilitator, the director, the others person who is engaged in the video production. You have to give the duty or the activity they are going to do during this from pre-preparation of video production up to the post video production. So you have to take care. Something will be happening. We don't know about the where what the things. Thank you.
Thanks, Tashita. That's very important. Yes, this entire journey will go from pre-production to post-production, but the actual planning happens at the time when we are writing our scripts. When we are writing our scripts, we are totally focused on our subject. We understand what messages we want to be coming out of each shot, each dialogue. And that's where the actual planning happens. Whether in each shot, I want the field, or I want a well, or I want a cow, or I want a particular plant, what I want to be seen, what I want to be heard, all of that designing, the entire construction happens at the stage of the scripting and the storyboarding, right? Not when I reach the location, not when I turn on the camera. So we plan this entire language well in advance, right? And sometimes we don't realize this. Even when I'm speaking to you right now, the way my voice sounds right now is leaving a certain message with you. Subconsciously, you're thinking, okay, maybe she's not well, or you're thinking maybe this is her natural voice. So it is playing a message in your head. If I were speaking in a different manner, a certain different kind of message would be playing in your head. If a farmer is talking with conviction in a loud volume, a different message is playing in our audience's mind, that this person has experienced this practice. They are confident about it. They feel happy about this practice, right? So the way the sound and the image will work will decide what messages are being received by the audience. So coming back to the same point, it has to be very carefully constructed. It has to be chosen carefully, eliminating all the extra sounds, adding intentionally some sounds, similarly eliminating all the extra visuals and adding some visuals. The way camera works is it has a foreground and a background. So always very strategically deciding what will be seen in this particular foreground and what will be seen in the background, right? Because every shot is telling a story. So let's keep that grammar and language in mind, because towards the end of today's session, we will be looking at how to prepare a short list or how to prepare for shooting. And then this perspective will come in very handy. Now, connected to this language of storytelling is, you know how in a sentence you have grammar, comma, full stop. There is a protocol that we follow, right? Similarly, even in videos, there is a protocol that we follow. So some of the basic rules and suggestions that help us make our video strong. I wish more people were turning on their videos, because I would like to show you an example. Can some of you turn on your videos, please? Great. Thanks, Taki. Can somebody else turn on their videos? Awesome. Thank you, Menjitsu. Somebody else? Thanks, Aptamu. Awesome. All right, let's look at these examples. Can you all see the videos that are turned on? Thanks, Constance. Can you all see the videos? Thanks, Zaradavit. Can everybody see all these videos that are turned on right now? Give me a thumbs up, please. Nale, thank you so much. Great. You can see the videos that are turned on, right? Now, in each of these videos,
sorry, we don't see the video.
Oh, you don't, Sophie? I can see quite a few of them. I can see quite a few. Can the others also see? Please let us know in chat or thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, for those of us using mobile phone, you may have to, switch your screen to the other side to be able to see the participant videos.
Right. Okay, great. Most of us can see. All right. So now let's take a look at what all you can see on your screen. Do all of our videos look exactly the same? Do all of our videos look exactly the same?
No, please.
No, right? No, what's the difference? Of course, we are different people, so we have different faces. But apart from that, yes.
Hello, on my side, thank you. I want to add some points. During the time of shooting is very important on my side. because time of shooting is very important for location or also sound. So maybe you must consider the time of shooting, especially at early morning, is very important. And after afternoon, in 9, 10 up to 9 o'clock, maybe it's very important. So our video, when I observe all of the participant video are not the same, maybe in the factor of lighting, time also, maybe one factor in my context. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So absolutely very important is the light source, right? What time of the day it is? Where is the light source coming on from? In some of our cases, the light is on this side, right? It's on this side. For some of us, it's in the front. And for some of us, especially let's say in Minale's case, it's coming from the back, right? That's why different kind of videos, our videos look different. What else is the difference? Lighting is one point. What else is the difference?
Yeah, I see resolution as one point. The sharpness of the camera that is capturing images. So, and the location is also another point.
The location, yeah, that's a good point. What else? Haptamu, you want to say something? Shooting angle, Gabby says shooting angle. Yes.
Hello. You can say the background.
Background, yes. What location we're in. Nice. Okay, Gabri, can you, thanks, Haptamu. Gabri, can you tell us more about what you mean by the shooting angle?
The shooting angle is looking at where you are positioning your shoot and taking into consideration the ways of the sun, the other things that may come across. So that is the strategic positioning where to target and get the real shot that you deserve.
That's fantastic.
Shooting angle is also the place of the camera we put on.
Absolutely, Fikru. That's perfectly correct, right? Do you see a difference when I'm keeping my camera like this? Do you see a difference in how I look now? Versus, do you see how I look now?
There's a difference. It's a difference.
Right? And now, the difference, right? So these are the three camera angles. We spoke about them yesterday. Eye level, high angle, and low angle, right? But apart from that, look at, in some cases, you can see only the head and the shoulder, right? In some cases, you see beyond that. You see more in the background. What do you think is making this difference? For instance, in case
it's to do more with the positioning of the camera as against the background. If you put it at a much closer distance, you are more likely to see your face, like Hamtu. And then if you place it a little bit further, you're able to get a resolution that covers at least the entire portion of your room or wherever you're sitting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for sharing that. So for instance, if my face and my upper shoulder is visible, this works as a mid shot, right? So you get information about me, what I'm talking, your attention is on me, but there is some information of my background as well. You will probably know where I'm sitting. Let's look at Menjitsu's frame, for instance, right? We know our focus is Menjitsu, but we are also looking at where Menjitsu is. So it is giving us some context, right? On the other hand, if I were to go so back, if I were to be so back further, right? Or let's see how Sophie is sitting right now. So Sophie is one part of the frame, but there is much more happening, right? This would become a long shot. Now do you see how different this is happening? When our whole body is visible or the subject is visible with the larger background, then it becomes a long shot, right? And for instance, if I bring my camera here, if I'm talking to you like this, then what is your attention on?
Only expression.
Only expressions, absolutely, right? So if I was very happy right now, you would not notice so much what Ayushi is saying, but you would notice whether Ayushi is very happy or whether she's very sad, or what does her nose ring look like, or what is the color of her eyes, right? Right? Your focus would change. Do you agree with that? Yeah,
that's true.
Yes,
right?
yes, we agree.
So
Yes.
this helps us decide the focus of each shot, the focus of each composition, and we can generally break it down. There are several breakdowns, but in the broader sense, we can call it a long shot, where let's say you see a farmer and their field. So that helps you give some context and background, right? Then we have a mid shot, which brings the focus to the main subject, but still keeps the context going on. For instance, what is happening right now with me is a mid shot. You are talking to me because we now know that I am the one having a conversation. We understand the premises. This is a video for development training going on. There are some logos that you see on the side here. So there is some context, but your attention is primarily on me. And then there is the close-up shot. For instance, if I want to show that a crop or a seed has a particular kind of infestation, there is some pest happening, then do I want to see? Yes, Majid, so we'll come to that. We'll definitely come to that. Do I want to see the entire plant, or do I just want to see the pest? Do I just want to see the disease? If the conversation is just about the disease, what do you think? If my shot is talking about how the disease is affecting or it is visible on the seed, then should my shot have only the seed, or should it have the entire plant? What do you think?
Close-up shot. Close-up shot.
Close-up shot, that's right, exactly. Only the seed, only that particular shot. That's why we have different kind of compositions. We choose at the time of scripting, at the time of storyboarding, what this particular shot should show, what should be the main focus, what should be the attention, right? And that is how we decide what my camera is going to show, right? So remember when you were all saying that when we go for location hunting or before we turn on the camera, this all actually happens at the time of storyboarding. We think about what should be the main focus, what should be the language of the audio, what should my brain read, what should my eyes see, and based on that we decide the entire language that will be said, and based on that we decide each and every shot. Yeah, so this was a very, very broad sense of how this audiovisual language works, what are the different kind of shots that we use, and even within these shots you'll have a lot of variations. A mid close-up, an extreme long shot, an extreme close-up. So based on the need, you'll be able to choose how the shot should be. Coming to Menjitsu's question, there is a very simple rule that helps us to make our videos more appealing, more beautiful, more aesthetic. Yeah. So this rule says that your screen, your camera screen, is divided into 3 imaginary parts, vertically and horizontally. Let me see if I can show you with a whiteboard. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Right. My drawing is really, really bad. Okay. So please don't judge me by this.
Don't worry.
If this is the camera screen, then we say that we divide our screen. We divide our screen into 3 imaginary parts, horizontally as well as vertically. Yeah. When you operate a DSLR, you'd probably be able to see that also. Sometimes you get to see that it shows us this screen, right? It shows us this these linings. Okay, so for example, if this is my camera, then whoops, I am so bad at this. Sorry. So this is my camera. then I can divide it into 3 imaginary parts, horizontal as well as vertical. So the rule of third says that the video looks the best when you keep the subject, the primary focus, on 1/3 of the screen. So for instance, 1, 2, and 3. So this will be 1/3 of the screen, right? So if I want to show a farmer in the field, this is where my farmer can be. Yeah. That will help, that will make look the most beautiful when we want to do, when we want to design our frame and composition. Now, if there are 2 people, then I can place one person on this third and the second person on this third, right? Similarly, what also I can do is, if I want to show a field with a harvester or something going on in the background, then my farmer can be here, and then the harvester machine can be here in the background, or the house can be here in the background. So I'm still following the rule of third. One subject is here, the second subject is there. So this is primarily the rule of third. Yeah. So for instance, if I'm talking about something and I'm sitting like this, right? Then I'm in the 1/3 rule, right? And if you notice, then the space over my head also has to be equal. If I am just like this, the rule of third is there, but it's still, there's a lot of headroom on top of my head. So this doesn't look very appropriate. If I have it equal, such that from both sides, yeah, look at the way Sophie's adjusting her frame. Yeah. So you will see this with a lot of news reporters. They're talking to the camera here, and then in this portion in the background, there is some visuals going on, right? So that's what the rule of third says. Yeah. When you next time when you open up your camera, try to see when you place anything in the rule of third, it starts looking more beautiful. It sets a better context. It makes it look more aesthetic and gives the right kind of information. Yeah. There's a lot more information about these kind of things, but we are not going to cover them in today's lesson. However, if you want, in the microsite, you will get that information available. So you can go ahead and explore that. Yeah. Now, I want to discuss with you about the shooting at field level. Yeah. After today, what we will do is that with our respective groups, we will come up with a production plan so that we can actually have a final outcome. We can have a story, a video that we will learn to edit. So to be able to do that, we will need to do a mental mapping of our plan, what subject we want to choose for training, for our video, what actors, what characters we want, what are the dialogues, when will we shoot it. You will need to come up with a plan. So now in this part of our session today, we're going to discuss how do we plan this? What are the things that we keep in mind, and how do we finally prepare a production plan? So I'm going to share my screen now. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, yes, please.
I can see.
Awesome. And I will not be able to see your chat right now. So if one of you can help me, if somebody's typing something, you can read it out, or at any point, just unmute yourself and feel free to share what you think, okay? So shooting at field level. There are different steps that will be required in this production. Some of these important steps are, number one, preparing a short list, right? We've discussed this again and again and again, having in mind what it is that you're going to shoot, what it is going to look like. That is the short list. It is based on our story. Whatever story we want to shoot, we prepare a short list based on that. The next step is location. You have discussed this again and again. Date and time. What will be the criteria on the basis of which you will choose your date and time. The actors or the persons involved, subject matter specialists, farmers, whoever you think, and the materials and the equipment that is required to prepare this plan, to actually do the actual shooting on the field. Yeah. So let's talk about the short list. Short list is basically the production plan What are the different shots you're going to be shooting? What is the description of each shot? What is going to be happening in that shot? Yeah, as opposed to you reaching there, switching on the camera, and then thinking, oh, maybe we should make this an extreme close-up shot, or maybe in this shot the farmer should say this. Instead of doing that on the field when there is already so much happening, it makes a lot of sense to plan this in advance. Yeah. And your shooting can go on for several days. So then you would know on each day, in each scene, each location, what are the things that I have to capture, exactly how I have to capture them, right? So this is where your short list will come in handy. We will discuss more about the shortlist at the end of this presentation, yeah? But keep it in mind, because all the other things that we discuss will be very important information that you will fill into your shortlist. Now, location, as you guys have discussed, is a very important point. Can you think of some of the criteria on the basis of which you will select your location? Can you think of some criteria? Feel free to unmute and talk.
Lighting is usually very important for any video shoot. So I would definitely consider lighting as one of the clear opportunities for the film. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a great input, Mark. Is there enough lighting in that location? Is it too much inside a house where there's no window, no door? That'll be difficult. That's right. Yes, Rolex.
Yeah, I will actually consider about the ambience of the area. How's the noise? Because in my shooting, the audio is more important also as the video.
Absolutely. Is it being shot right next to a very traffic area? Is it going to be too noisy? Will I have to cut down my shot each time there is a truck passing by? Very important point. Yes, Manjitsu.
Yeah, I think our location should be far away from any schools, which is any sound that disturbs our when we start any shoots, like the thing that you state here. If there is a road which is traffic lines which is busy, that disturbs our recording. So we should have to care about all the things that disturb our sounds.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. The noise is a very, very important factor in location. Damaris, you want to say something?
Yes, hello. I would also say the time, because the required time or the best time would be in the morning or in the evening. Yeah, so the time would also be a factor to consider. Thank you.
Fantastic. And keeping in time also in mind with the location. For instance, if our shoot has to be next to a school, and we know that morning time, all the students will be coming towards the school. So we will possibly not be able to shoot at that time, right? So keeping those things in mind. Will my location have enough space for shooting? Will the camera be able to move around enough? Is there an event happening on that location at that particular day? For instance, will it be okay to go there in the monsoon season? Will the roads be open and available? You know, these are different factors to consider before we actually finalize a location. And when should we do this location finalization? On the day of the shooting? Should we do it on the day of the shooting?
No. Yes. Yes.
Yes or no?
The answer is no, please.
No.
This will have to be a little bit in advance, right? Yeah. Very important. Awesome. So these are the points to keep in mind in terms of the location. Rolex, you want to say something?
Just a question. Should you also look at the weather pattern of the location before we go to the place, the weather pattern?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you bring it up, because now we are talking about the shooting time and date. Yeah. So not only that the location is good looking, it's quiet, it's accessible, but when is that location suitable for shooting? That's a very important point to keep in mind, Rawlings. Thank you for bringing it up, right? So
The other, in addition to the composition and the background composition of when we shooting, we must consider the background composition, because at field level we taken different kind of shooting, maybe extreme close-up, mid shoot, and other. So you must consider this kind of composition. Thank you very much.
thank you. That's a very important point, that if the video is about water recycling, then we need to have that subject available at that location. We need to have a certain crop available at that location. So making sure that the location is suitable to the subject is very important. Okay, so let's discuss about shooting time and date. Some of you mentioned that shooting time is very important so that the lighting is right. No? Has anyone heard of the phrase golden hours? Golden hours?
Yes, we know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you please explain it to the others?
Golden hours is the time when we use shooting. That means in the morning or afternoon.
Absolutely. Right after sunrise and right before sunset, those 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening are the best time to shoot, because the light is just golden. It's not too harsh. It's not too dull. So those are the best times to shoot. So in general, every time we are shooting outdoor, we don't have those kind of lighting equipment with us all the time. So using the sun's light is the best way to do it. And so choosing outdoor shooting at either early mornings or in the evenings after the peak hour of the sun is a good selection. Anything else that you think you should keep in mind for shooting time and date? I know Rawlings mentioned the weather. What else? What else apart from that? What else would be your criteria for selecting the date and time?
Yeah, I'm looking at areas that have taboo days and is not allowed to shoot at that time of the day. I'm also looking at our actors, those who be involved in the shooting, whether they are ready to, to be part of it. Some of them would like you to shoot them, but they don't want you to publish any of the information you've gathered from them. So you need to also ask of their opinion that this thing, I'm going to put it down there. Do you really want your image, your video to be shown? Then if they agree to that, then you shoot.
Fantastic. Very important point. That whether or not it's culturally appropriate or feasible to shoot at that time, at that date, and whether the actors are going to be available at that time. Those are 2 very important factors to keep in mind. Let's look at some of the other things that will help us select. Does anyone else want to add something?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead, Takashi.
Yeah. One thing I want to add on the shooting time and the dates, you have to consider the market day. The market day is very important for the local actors and as well the people. We have to take care the market day when the actor does not available for this issue. So this is my point.
Thank you. That's extremely important. Whether we'll be able to shoot there conveniently, whether our actors will be available there or not. So keeping in mind whether there's a festival going on or a ceremony going on or a market day going on, extremely important to plan in advance. One of the things that I always keep in mind when I go to shoot is checking if there are any prayer times in those areas or a ceremony that's going on I always make sure to check around in the neighborhood if something is coming up. So it's very important to be mindful of that. Great. So here are some of the things that we should keep in mind. So number 1 is, as you have mentioned, whether the people will be available there or not. That's very important to note. The availability of the subject is also equally important, right? For instance, if a machinery has to be brought in and it is going to come on only Thursday afternoon, then I have to set my shooting time on Thursday afternoon. Similarly, if my video is about the flowering time or the, I don't know, for teff, if there is a particular time when that particular pest will be there, it has to be 15 days after sowing or 25 days after sowing, then I will have to plan my shooting accordingly. I can't show a 5-day plant and then say this is a 15-day plant, right? So my shooting day and time also has to be chosen according to my subject, right? And finally, as you mentioned, it's about the environment. So all of these conditions, social conditions, events, weather, what time of the day, if you know that you have 2 scenes to shoot in the same day, then probably you can do the outdoor shooting in the golden hours when the sunlight is not very harsh. And you can do the indoor shooting at the peak of the day when through a window or a door or anything close by, you can get the light source. So you within the same day also, it's important to distribute your scene times and your shot times, right? So this is what we should keep in mind. The next thing is actors involved in the shooting, actors or persons who will be involved in the shooting. So any idea, let's try to understand what are the points to keep in mind when we select the actors or the persons who will be in our film. What do you think? Feel free to unmute yourself and share.
For instance, if you want to do a farm scene, you could be looking at farmers who will be key actors, maybe extension level agents from the Department of Agriculture, and then of course maybe other stakeholders who you find very important to the delivery of the message that you are required to be sent out. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mark. But can I ask you a follow-up question? Would you be able to, for instance, if you have to make a video on maize plantation, would you take any farmer who does maize plantation, or would you have a selection criteria?
Definitely there will be a selection criteria to look out for the farmer with the expertise, because your angle will be trying to deliver a message to the broader level. And so the level of expertise of the farmer in terms of how his crop is doing, and of course his knowledge of the diseases of the plant and so on and so forth will be very useful. Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. So first criteria is technical understanding, right? Their own knowledge on the practice. What else? What else would be my criteria? Somebody else?
There is.
Yes.
When we select the actor, we must be serious and take care, because it is a very important. One criteria maybe he is skillful, or he demonstrate the target point on that what he talk, and also the demonstration process may be very important on his skill. And also social factors. Maybe the actor is very well known by good things or not. If the actor is, when you select the person, maybe the merchant or the other person or the driver or well known in that area, maybe the video production or that video cannot accepted by the farmers. So the actor maybe must, when we select the actor, we must consider his skill, his acceptance, his talent, and his everything as a model. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Very important. Not only is their knowledge enough, but whether or not they are able to communicate clearly, right? I may know a lot, but if I don't, do you want to say something?
Yes.
Generally, we can say that the actor is just a skill and the knowledge he transfer for others. The skill he have and the knowledge, so that we first understand, evaluate the skills and the knowledge of that actors.
Absolutely. Skill. Yes. Somebody else wants to.
Yes, I'm Tashita. Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
What I want to add, especially when we select the actors, we have to take care about the person that that's accepted by community, especially which means a person who practice a extensionist, extension and the other things. The other thing is when we select the actor, did this person is practice last time or last year, or he follows the extension, and he keep the culture of the community.
Yeah.
It look like the character of a person itself is one of the critical thing when we select actor.
Yeah.
That thing is motivate audience to accept his idea and practice practice that things. Unless
Absolutely.
otherwise, it is not encouraged. When the actor is not encouraged by the community or the others followers, it's not good for our video. It is simply produce video. So we have to take care. The actor is very crucial, very important, very acceptable for the community.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing that. Their acceptability in the community, they are going to be a representation of the voice. So it's very important. Rollings and Annie want to say something. Rollings, first you, and then Annie will listen to you.
Yeah, I would also just like to add one thing. When we're looking for the actors, we also need to look for their consent. Yes, you have the actors involved, but are they agreeing to your terms of your production, or probably of what you're going to shoot? So the consent of the actors is well important as you choose.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's very important. Yes, Annie, and then Fikru.
Okay, in common sense. In
Can
common
we
sense.
Fikru, can we listen to Annie first?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
You. Can you hear me? Okay. I think when it comes to person involved in shooting, when it comes to selection, we have to look on what kind of occasion is going to take place so that we can be able to prepare that person who's going to be an actor or being in a video shooting. We can prepare that person like looking on what kind of occasion is going to take place. Then he can be maybe dressed according to what's going to happen. If we are doing an agricultural purposes, it means that that person is not supposed to come wearing a formal dressed. It's supposed to be wearing a work suit that will be suitable to work on the land. So that kind of selection we have to take into consideration when we are preparing something like a photo shoot, a video shooting, like in that kind of occasion. That's what I think. Thank you.
Thanks, Annie. Very, very important, extremely important. Thank you for sharing that. The dress of the person, what is it suitable to the subject and the scenario that we want to show in the film is very important. Thank you so much. Fikru, it's your turn now.
There is no difference, but when you say actors or persons in common sense, as we know, we are working with farmers. So the model farmers is just our actors in agriculture. So you can use model farmers because have good information about agriculture and the others. So we can just use model farmers.
Yeah, thanks, Fikru. Of course, that makes a lot of sense that we make sure that when we are portraying farmers, we show only farmers. But even in that, How do we plan this? How do we select these farmers? You have all beautifully put it together. Number one, they should be the practitioners. They should have good knowledge about the subject. Number two, they should be able to express clearly. They should be able to communicate clearly. Number three, they should be available on that particular time and that particular day. And number four, we should give them some context, some idea about what this is going to be like. So they are able to give us consent. They are willing to participate in this. When we ask them for consent, we should also express how much time this is going to take, whether this is going to be done in 1 hour, in 2 hours, 4 hours, 2 days. We should very clearly communicate with them. And then also tell them what kind of appearance will be suitable for this shot, so that when we get there at the time of the shooting, we don't waste time. We are able to go into shooting immediately, because all of these things have been planned in advance, right? So thank you so much for contributing to everything that you all have said. We are talking about their availability, their confidence, their subject knowledge, their appearances, and their consent. All of this will be important in deciding who the person is going to be. After persons, we have to think about materials required. And I will repeat again that keep all of these things in mind, because when you prepare your production plan, you will have to mention all of these things, right? So let's look at the materials required. How do you decide what material will be required? What are the things you should like to keep in mind? Any thoughts?
Yes, materials is very important for our video production. We have to prepare the checklist. The checklist. We have to prepare the checklist and list it down this each of the material, and we have to hold on this material whenever we are going to the field for shooting for the purpose of this issue. We don't forget the checklist, unless otherwise our mind is always not conscious.
Yes, absolutely. That's very important. All the material that's going to be required, we should have it. Otherwise, it has happened so many times that when we have to shoot, we realize, oh no, I forgot to bring the seeds, or I forgot to bring the spade or the gloves or anything that was very important for this to happen. You sometimes forget them, right? So here are a few things that you should keep in mind when you do the material requirement planning. So number one is very specific kind of materials that will be needed. If your video is talking about a certain medicine, then that medicine should be there. Measurement, spoon, rope, anything, all of those things should be there. The second thing is that it should be technically correct. Just having that material is not enough. And I've learned this from personal experience that there was a time when we had to shoot a video on rice transplantation, and the technical accuracy was that between 8 to 12 days after sowing, the rice should be transplanted. But and we mentioned to the farmer that we will need rice plants. But when we went to shoot, we realized that the plants were older than 15 days, right? So we couldn't show that material. Even if we had the material, we couldn't show it because it was technically not correct, right? So keeping in mind that not only is the material available, it is also technically correct. It's accurate. That is very important. Another thing I've learned from experiences, because at the time of shooting or while planning, there are so many things to keep in mind. It is helpful to designate all of this material to one person. That could be the farmer, that could be the field supervisor, extension worker, anybody. As long as one person has been given all the material list that you were just talking about, and you give them the responsibility and you cross-check with them, it makes our lives easier. So that is something that we can think about doing. And equipment, finally. What kind of preparations do you think you need for equipment? Shooting equipment? Would anyone like?
There are a few things in the chat. Should I read it to you, Ayushi?
Yes, please, Sophie. Thank you.
Okay, so the material has to be prepared based on the checklist, and the checklist has to include time, resources required, and even backups, for instance, for the camera, memory, and battery. That's one thing. Besides the needed camera, headphones, microphone, external supplementary batteries.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. This is what I can read in the chat.
Thanks, Sophie. Yes, absolutely. Having everything as per the requirement list, the production plan, and then also having backups is extremely important. Rolix, you want to say something?
Yes, probably maybe before the day of shooting, we had maybe visited the place and maybe done some checkup. Probably we might maybe evaluate that there's a lot of sunlight. So just for a backup, we can carry the diffuser. Probably maybe you don't have a diffuser on your checklist, but after the visit prior to the shooting, probably there are some equipment you just have to add.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's super helpful. Basis on the requirement of the location, you should be able to decide what extra equipment you may need. Fikru, you want to say something?
There's no new idea, but the equipment is just including camera, memory, all what we need, mic.
Absolutely.
All of this is just use as equipment.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yes, Annie, you want to say something?
The other thing that I think it's supposed to be checked is that the camera, is it functioning very well before the starting of the shooting? I think that's another thing I wanted to add.
Absolutely. Yes. Not being. Yes, please go on.
Yes, what I want to add on this material, we have to check the memory capacity or if our memory is full enough, we have to make empty. Our memory is mallet. It is not clear. The memory is so completely from the before shooting. We have to make empty, and we have to check internal cameras. How many capacity it will be stored. You have to check this one first before going to shoot.
Absolutely. Very important. Checking the memory, emptying the memory cards, making sure that the battery is completely charged, that all the parts are available. Very often in my initial days, I used to leave the base plate of the tripod. I always used to forget it at home. So creating a checklist. Yes, Taki, please go ahead.
Yes, I'm looking at it this way. You need to have a plan B in place, and maybe thinking of having a backup in case your system runs down. Are you going to use electricity? Just have that in mind during the
Absolutely. Super important. The number of times I have used my phone as a camera as a backup because something went wrong. So it's always helpful. Instead of wasting an entire day of production, it's very helpful to have this backup in mind every time. Yeah. And the best part about this process is that your production list and your checklist will keep evolving every time you go into the field, because every time you will come back with an experience and you can just keep adding that to your checklist. That's the beauty of it. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so for equipment, it's very basic, making sure that all the batteries are completely charged, making sure that all the memories are empty, and the memories cards have been filled into the camera, making sure that the equipment is functioning properly, that the reflectors, the mics, everything is functioning properly. And also, not equipment, but extremely important is to have the printout of your storyboard or your production plan always with you available in hand. Otherwise, there's no point of preparing all of this planning if you don't carry it with you on the day of the shoot, because then you won't remember too much of it. And then once you come back to editing, you realize you've missed half, right? So very important to keep that in mind. Now, here are some pointers that I will leave you with. The things that you can do before you actually take a shot. Yeah. So here are some tips. Number one is follow the shots that you have prepared in your storyboard, because you planned it very carefully. So make sure that you follow it. And make sure that in your storyboard, you have a detail of all the shots, every action. And once you get to the location, before you actually start recording, check the different angles and framings. There may be cases where you see that the shadow is too much, or there is something happening in the background that you don't want to show. So don't hesitate from picking up your camera and moving it around to see which looks the best. Yeah. And all of this should happen before you start recording, right? Do all your testings and experiments before you start recording. Once you have started recording, don't lift up your camera and try to move it around like, oh, this is not looking good, so I should take a close-up shot or something else. Don't do that. Do these kind of things before you actually start recording. Always make sure there's no background noise. And by background noise, I also mean that when your camera is on, very often the sound of the crew members also is recorded and we don't even realize. Like I've seen in cases that the actor is talking and the camera person is saying, yes, yes. And even those kind of sounds are recorded, or the sound of the paper rustling of the storyboard is recorded. So you have to be very mindful that people who are very close to the camera, even their smallest of sounds is going to be recorded. Another tip is to avoid any kind of white clothes when you're out in the sun, because it gives too much of a glare. The white balance goes off. So when you're outdoor, colors like green, blue, the darker shades, they look more, they're able to do a better white balance. So that's something to keep in mind. Try using zoom buttons as little as possible. So if your camera is in one place and you feel like you want to adjust the frame a little bit, make it a mid shot, or something is in the frame that you don't like, instead of using zoom in and zoom out, just pick up your camera and move it forward or backward. That brings more clarity, better quality. The sound is captured better. So keep those things in mind. Sorry. If you feel like the lighting on the subject is not going properly, feel free to change the location or change the background or change the direction. More often than not, if we just move around the camera with the location of the sun, the lighting comes out to be better. Even if you're shooting indoor, try to look for a door or a window that will offer a better lighting position. So don't hesitate from experimenting around. Now, when it comes to while you are taking the shot, what are the things to keep in mind? Again, keep checking as per the storyboard that the shot is going in the order. Sorry. Don't be in a rush to stop your recording. Very often it happens that the action is not complete, but we think it's complete, so we stop recording. So don't be in a rush. Make sure that you shoot some extra time. And to add to this, once you press the record button, instruct to your actor or the farmer not to start talking immediately or start acting immediately. They should count in their mind for 5 seconds. So for instance, you say action, then they pause for 5 seconds, then they start their conversation or their dialogue or their actions. Similarly, they finish their action or their dialogue, you wait for 5 seconds, and then you stop the recording. This will give you enough time before and after a shot for editing. right? So this kind of gap is very important. Otherwise, you'll realize that you press the record button and they said, hello, everyone. And then you didn't get any space to cut in between, right? So you don't want that to happen. So don't be in a rush ever. Record extra as much as possible. And always wait after you press record for them to start. And then after the action finishes, wait for a few seconds and then stop recording, right? It always helps to take some extra shots also that we may have not visualized when we were doing the storyboard. It happens very often when I go to shoot that I see that there are children who are studying in the background, or the farmer is doing some daily activities. Maybe they're counting the money that they have earned from the market, or they are just cleaning up their farming equipment. So it's always nice to capture these extra shots. There's no such thing as too much shooting. So feel free to capture these things. When you come back to the editing table, you may realize that this is something that you can use in the future. Always let the participants, the actors, know that you're going to start recording. And very importantly, if you're going with a team of video producers, when you're not shooting alone, then there is a high chance that you will start doing somebody else's job. And this creates even more confusion. So let the camera person handle the camera, let the direction person handle the direction, and let the person who is doing the management of the equipment, the people, the machineries, everything, let them handle the machinery. That's extremely important. Yeah. Does anyone have anything to add to this? Anything that you think that will be helpful? Anything else that you should keep in mind? All right, Francesco said the sound of the wind is important. Light management tools, diffusers, great. Wow, look at you all. You're already champions here. Great. Okay. Awesome. So now we'll come to the last part of this presentation. This is a sample.
Yes.
Yes, you want to say something? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I have one question. Sorry.
Yes, please go.
Yeah. We have discussed a lot of things today, especially video production processing. So how to video production change our attitude? How to change, especially when we take a time, we use a different type of material in order to produce this video. How to enhance our attitude, video production is in terms of today's session.
Okay, you want to know how we can be better video producers in terms of what we have learned today? Is that what you say?
Yes, of course. Yes,
Okay.
of course.
Okay, great. Before I say anything about this, would anyone else like to answer this question? What do you guys think?
For my end, I know if you really want to be the best in everything, you need to, do constant practices, bring on board others' perspectives, and look at the various value chain that you think you can, have shot on different activities that is happening. That will actually bring all the resources that you've gathered, your actions, everything together. And when people review your art, they will recommend and say, oh, this guy is doing good. He's doing better in video production and things like that. So that is what I know. Thanks.
Thanks, Taki. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else? What do you think?
Shall I add one thing?
Okay, let's go with Aptamu first, then after that. Yes. Yes, Aptamu.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. There is
Can you
somebody
hear me?
else. Yes, Aptamu, I can hear you. Somebody else also wants to talk, but let's have Haftamu talk first and then you can follow. Yes, please go ahead,
Yeah,
Haftamu.
just to add on the Teshita's question, yes, in order to be a good cameraman or a good video producer, we have to leave the smallest things that we have learned on this training, so that if we practice everything, so that we can become whatever he wants, I think. Over
Right.
to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, everything that we've discussed has been it's got into the details, and I'm realizing this, that God is actually in the details, right? The more deeply we analyze what it is that we will have to achieve, I think every time we'll start getting better results. Somebody else wanted to say something. Was it you, Annie, or somebody else? Who was it? I'm sorry, I'm not being able to see everybody with my screen sharing. Yes, please go ahead.
I think the best you have to do if you want to do the good shooting on camera and videos is that you have to prepare before you take the video. Secondly, you have to do your setup before you take the videos. You have to set up first. After that, I think you can have the very good video or camera. And the third one, the preparation is very important. And prepare the people, all the people that you want to take the, and then give them, you have to tell them what are you going to do, so that they are not going to do the mistake. Because while if you are not tell them the what you want to do, maybe somebody will do something else while you are taking the video. So the camera doesn't give you a chance. It's going through to the video, or it's going through to the camera. So if you want to take a best video, the best way is preparation first and setup.
Thanks
Thank
so much,
you.
Constance. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I think for us to be better video producers, being better planners is the most important thing. The more detailed we plan everything, actual shooting is only a very small portion of the larger iceberg, right? So very well said, Constance. Planning, planning, planning as much as possible, and thinking from the point of view of the audience. What would my audience like to see? What it is that will be relatable, what will not be relatable. Always going back to the participatory video approach, right? Because we understand the need of our community. We understand what they want, what they like, what they dislike. So as I was saying in the beginning of this session, empathy makes us great content producers. It makes us great communicators. So always keeping that empathy, always being an observer of the target audience, it helps massively. What I really like doing when I produce videos is I like going and watching other people watch these videos. So every time I do that, I see the places where they laugh, I see the places where they smile, or I see the places where they have question marks on their faces, or I see what is the environment in which they are watching these videos, right? And that gives me a lot of insight as how I can make the video more relatable, more connectable for them. So planning, observation, empathy, these things will help us become even better storytellers. It will help us become, actually achieve the impact that we are trying to create. Thank you so much for bringing up this point. It is extremely important that we keep this in mind in all of our steps, because I understand today's session has been very technical, a lot to do with logistics, planning and all that. But if we keep the larger image in mind, the larger picture, what do we want to achieve? It really helps to get down to these details. I'm going to share my screen again, and I want you to help me go through this last part of our presentation. I'm so sorry. Can you see my screen?
Yes, very well.
Yes.
Yes, Ayush.
All right, so this is a template of the shortlist. This will help you come up with a production plan, okay? This is a suggested template. Take a minute to go through this. Look at all the headings that it has. Name of the video, date, sheet number, sequence, who is responsible people, location. What is the short content going to be, messaging, etc. What is the shot type going to be, camera angle, shot type, and what is the short description, what is going to be happening in these shots. Please take a minute to go through this and then we'll discuss. If you want to share your thoughts, you can write them in chat as well, or unmute yourself and share. All right, does anyone have any observations about this format that you would like to share? Do you think something like this would be helpful? Or if you have any questions about what these different things are?
Okay, I think it's definitely going to be very helpful because it really gives us a point for structuring and getting involved in what the key areas around what the video production is supposed to be by. And then especially to do the messaging that you need to put in. So for the key messaging that has to be put in the various sections is very important. And then of course, what kind of shots you are going to undertake. The type of shot, either a wide shot or a much more focused shot, and all that. Then, of course, the description of the various elements in which you need to add to ensure that the video is up. So I believe it sets out and makes it very simple, and also points out the various areas for which we need to consider, especially in building the plan or the short list for a video. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, very well explained. It helps to get a structure. It gives in all the details. So if I go with this particular document into the field, it has all the information that I need for the actual shooting to happen. Yeah. I'm so sorry. All right. So I'll take you through a short example in this case. Yeah. If our video was about maize seed treatment, then it might have 2 scenes or 3 scenes. This particular scene could be about the actual seed treatment happening in the field or happening at the house of the farmer before they went into the field, right? So I would write, name of the video would be maize seed treatment, the date of the shooting, whether this is the first sheet, second sheet, I'll add all that, who are the responsible people, what is the location going to be, and this is going to be, let's say, scene number 1 at the farmer's house. So the first shot, what will be the content? It could be that the extension worker is saying that, hello friends, today we will get to know why do we need to do seed treatment in maize before we do the actual sowing. It could be this message. So we can write down the message here in the short content part. Then shot type. If the person is talking to us, then we don't need a long shot. We can have a mid shot, and it could be an eye level shot. So we mentioned that here. In the short description, we can write extension worker talking to the camera. And in the background could be, let's say, the farmer's house and the farmer sitting down doing something with his maize seed, right? That could be the description. And If you want to add any notes here, in this particular scene, sorry, shot, you may not need a note, but let's say after this shot, the next shot would have been the two farmers meeting each other, sorry, the extension worker meeting the farmer. So you might want to have a panning shot of the extension worker walking towards the camera, towards the farmer, and then greeting each other. But if there is a shot in which you need to show how the medicine is being mixed with the maize, then you might want to write down in the note section that make sure to use only 5 milligrams of medicine, or make sure not to mix the medicine barehanded, but to use gloves. Yeah, those kind of things you can add in your note, so that when you go for shooting, you are able to pay special attention to the notes. So with a format like this, you can plan what will be said or what will be the voiceover, what kind of shot needs to be taken in terms of techniques, long shot, high angle, all of that, what will actually be happening in that shot, right? Whether they will be sitting, standing, walking into the field, two farmers talking to each other, one farmer entering the field from right side, or farmer plowing the field, anything, whatever the action is going to be happening, you can mention this here. And finally, notes, anything that is important, anything that you need to keep in mind. I'm so sorry. Alberto gives a suggestion that we can also add a column for audio track. Yes, absolutely. If we want to add dialogues, or if we want to add a voiceover, or if in a particular place we want some music to be playing, then we can definitely add that. Great. So we will be sharing this format with you, and this is a suggestive format. You can feel free to keep advancing your own kind of formats that will help you with better planning. So that brings us to the end of everything that we wanted to discuss today. Do you have any thoughts, any questions, any experiences that you would like to share?
Okay.
Yes, Sophie, go ahead.
Yes. So thank you very much, Ayushi. This was a very interesting lesson. And each time I learn more. So it's really great. Just to say that the presentation will be available on the mini site. I see that there are many people who have joined today who were not registered. And therefore, if they're not registered, they are not part of the D groups. And if they are not part of the D groups, they haven't received the program with all the information about how to join. So I kindly ask, and Uloma has put in the chat the link in order for people to register, to provide their information, because otherwise we cannot include them in our D groups, and you will not be able to receive the appropriate information. We also kindly ask you, when you're on the mini site, to really go to the training outputs and to actually fill in the forms and participate. So please do participate in all the different activities, because it will enable you to learn more. And as we said, there are many people coming from Digital Green. I hope that you will be able to talk to each other and to decide which short video you wish to share with us. So tomorrow we'll meet again at the same time. And I kindly request again, people, please do register. Uloma has put the information in the chat. So before you leave, maybe try to save the chat. And for those who are on a telephone, this is not easy. So please click on the links that will open a new window on your phone, and this will enable you to register. So again, Thank you so much, Ayushi. Thank you very much for also all the people behind the screen who are helping us, and for the participants to be so active. So see you tomorrow. All the best.
Thanks,